It's been 50 years since The Exorcist has been released. The initial print has been augmented by director's cuts, and you see on Hollywood Suite in Canada the Exorcist you never saw, the expanded cut. But when it comes down to it, how many Catholics were guilty for either seeing the movie or what was in it? Now, William Friedkin, the director, said about it once: one of the best things that could happen with this movie is if the Pope denounces it. The infamous crucifix scene and others involved material sacrilegious to Catholics. Officially, the church, whose influence over film content had declined following the demise of the Hayes Office and the Associated Production Code a few years later, had bemoaned Warner's choice of release date. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops' Office for Film and Broadcasting Catholic Film Newsletter rated the film A-1V, suitable for adults only with reservations, and gave it a generally negative review that faulted the film for suggesting exorcisms were common and possibly encouraging belief in the occult and Satanism. Now, individual priests familiar with the theology were also critical. One who, like Harris, was a Jesuit and psychiatrist at Georgetown, said that what he believed in the devil, there is no shred of evidence from the Bible that he can possess an individual. Woods, the Loyola of Chicago professor who had written a book about the devil, told the New York Times that Karras and Marin, the key priests at the end of the movie, were incompetent. They departed from the ritual in the most stupid and reckless manner, he said. They tried to fight the demon hand to hand instead of relying on the power of God. Eugene Kennedy, another Loyola priest and psychologist, describes the film's view of the battle of good and evil as immature. Being a Christian and a mature person means coming to terms with our own capacity for evil, not projecting it on an outside force that possesses us. Some non-Catholics were critical. Surely it is religious people who should be most offended by this movie, wrote Pauline Kael, the famous reviewer, incredulous that Georgetown and several priests facilitated the productions. She also said others can laugh it off as garbage, but are American Catholics willing to see their faith turned into a horror show? Are they willing to accept anything just as long as their church comes out in a good light? Are those who accept this picture getting their heads screwed on backward? Kael nonetheless described The Exorcist as the biggest recruiting poster the Catholic Church has had since the senior days of Going My Way and the Bells of St. Mary's, since the film says that it is the true faith, feared by the devil, and that its rituals can exorcise demons. A later historian has found that the church was not as critical of the film as reports suggested, privately consider it faith-affirming. Authorities in predominantly Muslim Tunisia banned the film before its 1975 release there as unjustified propaganda in favor of Christianity. In 2008, Colleen McDaniel, editor of The Catholics in the Movies, wrote that The Exorcist is a horror movie that believes in its villain and, even worse, recruits its villain as a witness to Catholic truth. Now, here's when it gets freaky. In February 1974, the Jesuit magazine America ran several commentaries and responses by key priests to the film. The editors allowed the writer to respond later that month. He praised some of the commentators' points, but was disappointed by some misconceptions of the film held by both critics and defenders. The changes to the film's ending from the novel, Blady agreed, might have made it hard to perceive that the mystery of goodness was the theme of the work. It appeared to him that for many viewers, including some of America's writers, the film ended with the demon triumphant through the deaths of the priests despite being exorcised from Reagan. The ending of the novel made this clearer, but even in the film, he saw Karras' suicide as a sacrificial act of love that reaffirmed his faith. Now, American Protestant groups also took critical note of the Exorcist phenomena and its religious implications. Evangelist Billy Graham, in a very, very over-the-top speech, told a National Enquirer that the devil is in every frame of that film, a remark later characterized as Graham believing the print itself was possessed by Satan. The Reverend Lester Kinsolving, an Episcopal priest and syndicated newspaper columnist, argued the church approached the film only because its hearers were priests. The Christian Century, the leading voice of mainline Protestantism, likewise denounced the film as hardcore pornography that the Protestant offers a completely impossible solution to evil. Protestant groups around the country picketed the film and offered support to those who might be disturbed by it. Now, get this. I know this for a fact. Protestants have attempted exorcism, Freudian slip, in New Brunswick on friends of mine for singing Elvis on stage. Go figure. Now, a lot of people went to The Exorcist and felt a lot of Catholic guilt, but in the movie, basically, it's saying that when you don't take the devil seriously, it can come in and take over. Now, a lot of the scenes in the movie were sacrilegious to what he called the power of the cross, the power of the body to fight evil, and the power of sexuality, where sexuality in this of a young girl is used as an angry effort towards her mother and the other people around her. But what a lot of people are freaked about this movie, and according to published reports, people were passing out and throwing up and stuff like that. It's because it's in a lot of ways it's over the top. Now, there's been films worse than this, The Exorcist, but it's done in an intellectual manner. This was a few years after Rosemary's Baby. Now, do you say the biggest lie the world's ever been told, that the devil does not exist? Well, we all know the devil exists, whether you believe it or not, because there's predominantly a lot of people who get off on watching evil. So some people were going to the movie, becoming guilty, more reaffirmed in the faith, because he felt that maybe the relapsed Catholics that were being forgotten, and this would happen to them if they give up their faith. But the idea of having a hero like Max von Sydow, very, very big in the Bergman film for religious imagery. You had a lot of key actors in this movie, especially Ellen Burstyn, a tremendous actress. It seemed real to a lot of people, more real they let on. And have Mercedes McCambridge and Linda Blair combined for the Reagan character, basically, possessed by whatever demon that was around. It could be the devil or demons or whatever. It really works. But like I said, if you were a very religious person in 1973 to go see it, it would scare the living shit out of you, because it's basically the threat of evil become real. And certain lines and certain scenes in a movie for many people were disgusting, even though they showed that if you give up on your faith, maybe something like this will happen. So a lot of speculation, but William Friedkin, who manipulated his audience in the movie in a way that hasn't been seen before or since, he directed it not only for the Catholics, not only for the believers, but for the non-believers. So you get out of it what you want to get out of it. It's comparable to a mafia don or a made man going to see Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Goodfellas, Casino. You can see yourself up there in the screen. Now, if you're a Satanist, you're going to see yourself up there in the screen, or what was considered a Satanist back then. If you're a Catholic or a person to become a priest or a very faithful person, or if a person lost their faith, there was something there on the screen. There was something for everybody. I know this is one of the most democratic horror movies of all time, because whatever horror you had in relation to your faith was up there on the screen. Rejection, like putting your mother into a nursing home, or giving up on taking care of that person, stopping caring for the people you love, thinking about yourself, no self-sacrifice, and not taking stuff seriously. It's all there. Now, The Exorcist at its best is a movie that has to be seen many times. It's a movie you go back to, but the audio and the themes and the score and everything works together. It's not a perfect movie, far from it, but if anything, is a movie of its time. The 1970s for movie makers would not have been the same were it not for The Exorcist, because it was the top level. They had gotten away from the studio system, and here we are, where basically all bets are off. And don't forget, William Friedkin did literally the gay version of the Godfather just a few years before, and the Boys in the Band. So he had conquered that category. He had broken the doors open on what's considered gay melodrama, and this was what they call religious melodrama. So again, and if you never heard Exorcist before, if you've never seen it, there's a few people out there. It is the big 50th anniversary. Give a chance to look at it. But I would look at the original cut and do the director's cut, and see how the first number of minutes were done quiet. Then all of a sudden you're hitting over the head, because there's a slow build, and once it hits the level, like I said, it's pushing all the time. Sort of like that glass, or we call it the religious ceiling, no pun intended. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my take on the Catholic guilt or satanic love of The Exorcist. If you like what we're doing here with our vintage movie reviews, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And if you're very, very satanic or very, very religious, if this is not what you expected, well, too bad, so sad. It's just my view. Have a good one.